And that leads into the subject of public relations. So public relations is using media to get advertising, basically, or using media to get articles or get on radio or get on TV. And this is actually easier than you think. But there is a way to do it. And you should read a book called, or get your hands on the book, called Positioning and PR. I think these days it's just called Positioning, but it was called Positioning and PR. And it's by Jack Trout and Al Rise. And what these guys talk about, which is pretty interesting, is, let's say this represents your sales, okay? Sales, this is time down the bottom here. And what happens is, a lot of companies launch a PR advertising promotional blitz. So they kick off with PR, ads, and a promotion, like a special offer or something. And so sales start really high, but what happens is over time they drop off. Okay? And you don't get actually as much of an effect in the long term. But the way to go about it, and this is what these guys recommend, and I've found it to be the case as well, is you start off with PR, then you do some sort of a promotion, and then you start advertising. And your sales build one on the other, and they keep building, and then you do more PR and more promotion, more sales, and it keeps building, and it creates an avalanche. The concept is PR starts the fire, and advertising puts the fuel on it, you see. And if you understand this concept and you do it, then you can get an enormous amount of expansion or sales or lead generation without having to spend any money or spending very little money. In fact, at Chan & Naylor, I never got out of the PR stage. I didn't get to really spend any money on advertising. Isn't that a shame? Well, imagine what would have happened if I did. You see, so how do you get PR? How do you actually go about getting PR? Well, you need to send out a press release. And this is what a press release looks like. At the bottom, at the top left there, you put the address of the person, details of who you're sending it to, put the date over here. Here you should have a nice headline that's nice and clear. And then here you have all of the, what we call the copy, or just all the basic information you would have about what it is you're offering. And then down the bottom, you have where your sign off and your own details. So your details go down there, your address and so on. Now, you want to try and keep it to one page if you can. The reason for this is because you fax this to a media contact. You just fax it to media contacts. So how do you find out who to send this to? Well, you should just get a list of media contacts. It's very easy to do these days. You can just go on Google and Google media contacts, and you'll find that somebody's put together a spreadsheet or a database or a list of things. And the best way to actually do it is like this. When I first started, you would imagine, right, with a headline like how to legally reduce your tax, you'd think if you sent a press release out about this, you'd get people wanting to interview you. You would think that would be the case, wouldn't you? We got nothing. Nothing happened. No TV, no radio, no newspaper interviewed us at all. And we kept trying different angles and everything. We got no bites, as they call it. And what happened was I said, well, I had a publicist helping me do this. I hired a publicist, cost about $8,000 or something, for a publicist who would handle all the communications back and forth with the journalists and whatnot. What ended up happening was we went to the local newspaper and we ended up going along the angle of a local authors make good, or something like that. So then the local newspaper found out they had best-selling authors in their little area. So all of a sudden we were getting interviewed, and we were in the local newspaper, and they took a picture of the book, and they came around and they took pictures of Ed and I, and it went into the local newspaper. Next day I got a phone call from a radio station wanting to interview me, and I was on radio. Then the TV, some morning show heard me on TV. So I heard me on the radio, bang, next week I was on TV. Boom, 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 just like that. And after that then, we were in the media and it was very easy. And so the whole of Chan & Naylor was built through that, because once I'm in radio, TV and everything, is this costing me money? Nope. Did anyone seen me on TV come here? No? In Perth, a lady came to the seminar because she saw me on TV a couple of months ago, bought a book online, came to the seminar. Boom, boom, boom. What did it cost me to get that client? Nothing. Nothing, see? So, very easy to do. Now, depending on your business, you don't necessarily have to go national with it, you know, it depends on your business. But local radio, local TV, local newspapers, fantastic source of getting good press. And the thing is, if you've got a good story already there, ready to go, they love it because they don't get the opportunity to get many good stories, you know? And, you know, you can have good stories about a client who had, you know, got, like, you know, really happy with your product or service. And also keeping your eye, and this is why I hired a publicist, but keeping your eye on the media, when something relevant comes up about your business, you could quickly send out a press release and bang, you'll be on the air or in the paper before you know it, okay? And by doing this, then what happens is journalists end up calling you. And this happens all the time. There's only one rule you should stick to on this, that if you're going to go into the, going to get interviewed or whatever, always agree that they're going to put down your website address, all right? Always get that. And my rule was they had to have a picture of the book and a website address, because if they didn't have that, I didn't really care. I didn't just want the fame or whatever it was for it. I actually wanted the people to go to the website and buy the book. You see? So those are the rules. Always make sure they've got a means of contacting you and finding out about you. It's very, very good. And that doesn't cost you anything, because you can just send out, how many times can you send out a press release? Much as you want. Much as you want. Costs you a fax. And once you've built your little database, you know, you can just pull your community newspaper out and you find out where to fax it to, just as simple as that. Fax them as many times as you like. Okay? And then eventually they'll get them and they just land on the desk, and if it's relevant, they'll call you and interview you and whang, you're away. Very easy to do.